This episode is brought to you by thedolphinwars.com.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to King Dolphin Television, episode 339. I am Raymond Feliciano. I am the author of the Dolphin Wars trilogy of science fiction books and ruler of the greatest pod on YouTube. I would like to welcome you all to another interview evening. Tonight I have Dan Mace. He is the host of Talk of the Town on Mace Radio. Glad to meet you, sir. How are you?
Top of the world. And how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Doing well. I'm glad we're finally getting warm.
Oh, that's
after all that.
Yep. I found a trick we use for the cold. You take a sock, you fill it with rice, tie the end off, put it in the microwave.
Ooh.
A few minutes. And then you slide it under the blanket with you at night.
Oh, nice.
Goodness.
Oh, nice. We have a pit bull dog. His name is Strike, and he loves getting under the bed with him. And
that'd help keep you warm.
Oh, yeah. Yes, indeed. Okay, so I am definitely looking forward to tonight's interview, and I'm sure my chat is as well. But before we get started, if you like these interviews, if you like the reviews that I do, and all the fun and chaos that King Dolphin TV has to offer, please like and subscribe to the channel. Also, please watch the videos. Please watch the videos so we can get those watch hours up and slap around YouTube. And finally, if you are so inclined, please click on the tip link on the top of the chat and put some ducats in the buckets to help out the channel here. We've got a lot of big things planned for this coming year, but as we know, it does take some money to do it, and since I'm not monetized yet, every little bit helps. So thank you in advance. And now let me welcome who we've got right now. Right now, we currently have my amazing lifeguards, the equivalent of wrenches, and mods here. They keep the chat safe and exciting. Our producer, Sandra, is at a meeting, so I'm on my own. So we'll have to see what happens. Hopefully this goes well, but Gumby usually tends to strike when I least expect it. So let us start. We have FKHC 2005. Hello, Tim. How are you doing? And then we have Legatus Legionai. How you doing, my friend? We have Snortopupus Cuber. And we finally have the Comic Relief Crusader. So I'd like to thank you all for being here. And let us, without further ado, you guys in the chat are all familiar with how we do this here. I will ask Mr. Mace questions so we get to know him. And then after that, after our little conversation, we will then open it up to questions from the chat. And let me post his YouTube, not his YouTube. Let me post his website so that we all can see it. Here it is. All right.
And no, it doesn't smell like feet.
Yep. That's what happens here. Yeah, but doesn't it make the rice smell like feet? Yep. Up, and there we go. We got it started here. And he was going to tell us. I told him not to tell me about it because he was definitely excited about the cookie question.
Oh yeah. There is one cookie.
So we're going to start off with the all-important question. What cookie do you like the best?
There is one cookie that is the greatest food you can eat of any kind. Malamars. They are incredible. Now, they got knockoffs that are kind of like it, but they're not. So if you ever want to try a cookie that blows all the rest of them out of the water, Malamar, if you can find them. They only come out in winter and then rarely.
Oh, sounds like Comic has heard about it. But he's from Canada, so maybe he does.
Yeah, well,
how does that spell?
Mallomar. Malomar.
Oh.
And it is, I'm type 2 diabetic. And when I see my doctor and my sugar's high, she goes, "Oh, it's Malamar season."
Oh. Oh, Comic is. we know. Does Pudgy know this magic substance? We don't know. Maybe he'll be in. All right.
2 L's in Malamar, and it's Mallomar.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, and Comic is saying divine.
Yeah. Well, after that, what's left to talk about?
That's true. That's true. Well, we'll make it somehow. All right. So, can I call you Dan, sir?
Oh, by all means. Now, what do you want me to call you?
You can call me
Your Majesty.
You can call me King or Raymond.
All right.
Okay. So, like I said, I keep the questions short because I know you guys want to talk to him. So let's get started without further ado. So tell us a little bit about Mr. Dan Mace before you started your channel.
Well, I'll just go back to my online stuff. I guess that would be the simplest because I've done a lot of things in my life.
Okay.
In 95, I started the first and at the only time for a long time leather clothing store on the internet, sold worldwide, got robbed twice in Russia. They used fake credit cards, but we had a 400-page website.
Wow.
Of leather clothing, and it was great. I mean, it was fantastic. It was called Leather In, and I did phenomenally well with it. But I saw the crash coming and sold it like a month before the internet took a tank in the later 90s. And then moving up 2005, I was events director in an adults-only 3D virtual world. And it was laid out like a city with avatars, and you walked around with your avatars and it had a little chat box with it. And it seems so much.
Those.
Huh?
I remember those.
Yeah. And it seems so much like a city, I decided to treat it like one. And I started publishing a newspaper in the city.
Mm.
Then I started a radio show and a TV show in the city. And it was hugely popular. And I did something, I think it was the first ever done. I did a lot of firsts in that place. I did weddings. I was a justice of the peace and performed weddings. I did a funeral service when one of the owners passed in the virtual world.
Mm.
Then I hooked up with a guy in Australia, and we got a live feed from his club. He owned a club, and we got a live feed from his club, and the coders put it up on a dance club wall in the virtual world. Then we took the live feed from the virtual world and put it on a big screen TV in his club. So the avatars and the real humans were dancing side by side
Oh,
in both places. And that
wow.
was pretty wild.
That's amazing.
That was a blast. I did so much in there. But that's when I really got started my radio show. And I would play music, and we had contests and all kinds of craziness. And I ran my new radio show and TV show from 2005 until last year.
Okay.
The server I was using went out of business.
Wow, that's right, Drew. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yep. So I haven't done that since, but I used to do live broadcasts from clubs here in Martinsburg,
Hmm.
bands that were playing, and I'd broadcast the band out on macetv.net. And during that time, I produced over 500 television shows. So, there's that. And I've always had fondness for the old 50s, 40s radio shows,
Hmm.
the drama, the mystery, the sci-fi, the fantasy.
Yeah.
And I produced a bunch of radio shows that are story driven. And I also published hard print locally. I published the Gazette, and then I published Talk of the Town. I published the Welcome to Berkeley County, Welcome to Loud County, 4 different county Welcome to booklets. And
Mm.
somebody made me an offer I couldn't refuse and sold it to him. And
Nice.
yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I kept my shows going. I did cooking shows. I used a chef who actually taught the chef Steve Weiss. He taught the chefs uh, baking at the White House.
Whoa.
And I did a home interior decorating show and a lot of music shows. I had a musician was a host of uh, a music show where he invited people into the studio, musicians and singers, and he'd interview them. They jammed together, and I had a chat with the video feed, and then they would answer questions back and forth, much like you do.
Hmm.
And trying to think, but then I got this idea recently for the Talk of the Town radio magazine, and I took the 2 things that I really enjoy, radio shows and publishing magazines. I published several magazines, and I put the 2 together, and it's laid out in magazine format, page by page subject,
Hmm.
and all the subjects are in audio. All of the news, all of the different things on it are in audio instead of typing
Hmm.
for the text. And you know, I produced a concert at the Apollo. Wrote, produced, directed, did a play at the Apollo. I acted in a bunch of plays at the Apollo.
In New
Was
York?
one of the directors at the Apollo for a while.
In the Apollo in New York?
No,
Okay.
here in Martinsburg.
Okay. So there's an Apollo here.
Yeah, Pollock Civic Theater, downtown Martinsburg.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great old theater.
Ah. It's still going on, isn't it?
Yes. Oh my, yes. Yeah. They just redid the whole front of it.
Ah.
But it's
Okay.
interesting. And that's where I learned. I was on several board of directors for downtown Martinsburg, was on Main Street, Martinsburg, all that
Mhm.
stuff, and the ones before that. And I, I had a priest friend of mine who had a sign on his desk, "For God so loved the world, he did not send a committee." I got to tell you, I found out just how right that was. We're at a meeting at the Apollo, and they're trying to decide on something. So we sat there one night for 3 hours, and nobody could make up their minds. So then somebody said, "Okay, we'll have a special committee meet back here next week, come to a decision, then come back the following week and report it to the board." So I had to ask, little bell went off in my head. And I said, "All right, tell me, who's going to be on this committee?" And he said, "Well, we are." I said, "Okay, let me see if I got this right. We are going to sit after 3 hours. We can't make up our minds. We're going to come back here next week, do this again, and then come back the following week and tell ourselves what we came up with." And they all kind of looked like, a deer in the headlights. And I looked at my empty wrist and I says, "Oh, look what time it is. I has to be anywhere else." And I quit. That was it. That's the last committee I'll ever be on.
Probably a good idea. I think Snortopooper says it pretty well. A committee is a way for many people to avoid responsibility for making any decisions.
There's a lot of truth in that,
Yeah.
but it's
Snortopooper is a wise bear.
it's not my thing. I've been invited to be on board of directors and things, committees, and I just come back with the same thing. "Oh, look what time it is. I has to be anywhere else."
Okay. So you've been doing this. So you've been doing Talk of the Town since about 2005. Well, yeah,
Yeah,
2005.
2005. But this new version, the audio magazine, is the first issue is just out yesterday for February. It's a monthly,
Okay.
and it's got radio shows of different kinds. It's got helpful household hints. It's got stories, several stories in each one. I got one that I write, the Wiggins family of West Virginia. It's a kind of a comedic, fictional family. The mother's a cop. The father owns a Harley shop downtown Martinsburg, which I used to have one there.
You had a comic book star?
No, I had a Harley shop called
Oh, okay.
Fresh. It was on Queen Street across from City Hall. I
Oh,
was
okay.
there for 12 years. Then I built a new building on Rockcliffe Drive, which is now, I think it's an ear doctor or something like that bought it, and that's what it is now. But anyway, the kind of lost track of where I was going. The whole idea of this is interesting and fun, and I have local historical facts. I have stories, and I have several actors who come in, and we record the stories, playing different roles. And you can see on my YouTube channel, there's a bunch of them. On my original Talk of the Town TV show, it started as a television show, and I filmed it in front of a live studio audience in the mall here in Martinsburg while there still was one.
Mm-hmm.
And then when that ended, I just went on with it myself and had a lot of fun with it. Produced concerts and broadcast live bands from local clubs, and I don't know, had a lot of fun.
Now, you said you produced music. Are you a musician in your own right?
No, the best tune I can carry is in a stereo.
Oh, okay.
I am not musical. I owned a violin once, but that was just a joke.
Mm,
But the people, um, no, I had actual professional musicians would be on the show, and I had and part timers,
hmm
and I had a musician who also taught music, was the host of Musicians Corner. That was the name of that show,
Okay.
where he would invite people in, and then of course the concerts I broadcast, or I filmed a lot of a lot of the contests at Shepherd University, and they're on my YouTube channel, some of them. And I did I used to make music videos for bands, and I still get calls sometimes while I do it. Not just no, heck no, and that's the politer way of saying it for your audience. Um, yeah, I refuse to work with musicians now.
Mm,
Yeah, Mace TV Live
all right. Yeah, let me
is my
pull it.
YouTube, but I did a concert at the Apollo, and it was at the Civic Theater here in Martinsburg, and I had six bands, and
Hmm
it was a fundraiser for CASA, Court-Appointed Special Advocates for Abused, Neglected Children,
Uh-huh.
and I used to be a volunteer with them, and I put on a concert as a fundraiser, and I was going to make it into a movie.
hmm
And I had lawyers, judges, CASA volunteers, and musicians, and all on stage. And I was going to make it into a master DVD, give it to the local CASA. There's CASAs in cities all over America. And I was going to give them the DVD, the master, to make copies and sell it as a fundraiser for them. And having worked with bands, I knew they could be problematic.
Yeah.
One of the best camera people in the country is also a dominatrix.
Oh boy.
Oh, yeah. Now, I figured if anybody could keep these musicians in line, she's the one, right?
Yeah.
She still won't talk to me, and that was like 15 years ago.
Oh, so she was traumatized by the experience.
She
Oh,
took And all right, all the bands had to sign a waiver. All the band members and singers had to sign a waiver that I could use the broadcast, the footage, to make the DVD, and they
mhm.
all agreed. But during the show, she took the sheets around for them to sign it to make it legal.
Right.
Oh, no way, man. I'm not signing anything, man. None of them would sign it.
Oh.
So we had a two camera shoot, one in the balcony, one in the back. And she just did a wonderful job of running everything. And then at the end, she comes up and she hands me all these blank papers,
Oh.
unsigned. She said, if I had my whip, I would have beat every one of them. And she's a
Oh.
friend because I got to know her through filming. She is like a magician with a camera. She's
Mm,
amazing. And the dominatrix parts was just extra.
okay.
But She hasn't spoken to me since.
Oh man, you traumatized her.
Well, I'll tell you, I almost got traumatized.
I can imagine. I can
And that
imagine.
was the last musical thing I've ever done.
And hello, Swift minus one. Hello there. Here's some of the stuff on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that stuff, and I want to tell people out there, I'm old now. All right. I'm 72 and I'm still busy. I retired twice and it never stuck. But there's so many people that give up on their life or sell themselves short or they think that they can't accomplish things or they don't have the education or whatever. And I want to give them a shout out because I never got past 8th grade. I was homeless in New York City on the streets when I was 14. I've owned many businesses. Um, I designed and built my own brand of motorcycle. I designed and built houses. I've done all of this stuff on the internet. I have 19 books published, and that's with an 8th grade education. So the only thing, this is what I learned when I was very young, the only thing that can stop you is you. That's it.
So true.
Now, I learned a lot from my dear old sainted mother. Me darling mother was an Irish redhead.
Uh-oh.
And I wish she was around today for running the world because once in my whole life, I said, something's not fair. I told her I wanted something. She said, no. I said, Ma, that's not fair. And she smacked me in the head, which is all lessons were preceded with a smack in the head.
Of course.
She said, life ain't fair. It's not all about you. Now shut the H up and go outside and play. I was 5 years old and I remember it because I started my first business that day.
Lemonades.
No,
Now,
I
what'd you
grew up
do?
in an Irish neighborhood in the Irish Catholic neighborhood in the 1950s, the height of the baby boomers. 6-story apartment buildings with hundreds of kids on the block, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got my father's tools and an oil can. I set up a crate on the corner of Queens Boulevard and 45th Street. And whenever a chain came off a kid's bike, he brought it to me. I put the chain on, straightened the wheel, tightened it up, oiled it, charged him a nickel.
Oh, awesome.
Back then, candy bars were only a nickel.
That's
I
true.
got the movies on Saturday were a quarter. Pizza was 15 cents. I was rich. I mean, I was loaded. And that was my first business.
Wow. Kids today could learn that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we grew up 6 kids in one bedroom. My parents slept in the couch in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
Irish whiskey, snort a pooper, so cute bar. Ah, well, now there's nothing wrong with a wee drop of the creature. Now, do you know why God made redheaded women?
No.
Because he didn't think men suffered enough.
Yeah. Well,
My mother taught me that, like I said, a redheaded Irish woman with the freckles in her temper.
my youngest granddaughter has got the reddest hair ever, and she is a little force of nature. She,
That red hair ain't no lie. That's a
yep,
fire in the furnace.
yep. She, when she talks, Grandpa listens, or it's Pop Up. When she talks, Pop Up listens.
That's cute.
So, how long have you been here in the area?
Almost 40 years
Oh,
now.
okay. So,
Yeah, I'm not new. We moved up here shortly after I got married to my second wife.
mhm.
Um, and March 10th we'll be together 40 years.
Wow.
And relationship advice. Excuse me. People say that in 40 years, we have never had a really serious argument, not one.
Hmm.
And people ask, how do you do that? I said, well, it's simple. I worship the ground she walks on, and she lets me. And in this world where everybody identifies as something, I'm a bobblehead doll. My wife talks, and I just nod my head.
That's probably yep, that's the same with me.
And as far as Maureen O'Hara, my mother could pass for her twin sister.
Ooh. Ooh. Wow.
Yeah, she's beautiful. She could sing too.
Oh, yeah.
But what a temp! My father was a heavyweight professional boxer for a while. Fought 28 bouts, knocked every one of his opponents out in the first or second round.
Hmm.
And he was afraid of my mother.
I could see that. The mothers are the force of nature.
You don't cross a redhead and live to talk about it.
That is true. That is true. Um, on your channel,
Mhm.
do you have things that you absolutely don't talk about?
On my channel. Well, the usual standards. I generally try to avoid politics and religion.
Mhm.
Um, I don't even bring it up. You know,
Mhm.
that's that's like almost it's a standard taboo. If you want to lose half of your audience, talk about politics or religion. You
Mhm.
will lose half of your audience every time.
Okay. All right. And then finally, almost finally, what when I met you, you had something called Enchanted Portals.
Ah,
And
well, yeah.
can you tell me about that?
That's the Irish fairies' fairy doors. And when you have one of my enchanted portal fairy doors, they're portals to the fairy realm Saoirse. That's an Irish word that means liberty, freedom.
Mhm.
And I've had many people come back and tell me when they have one. At night while they're sleeping, the fairies come through these enchanted portals and spend the night with them in their dreams. But it's not like a regular dream, it's different somehow.
Mhm.
I had one woman come and tell me. Now, I set up and sell at the Roundhouse. I sell out of my studio here too. Excuse me. And on the corner of Central and Diamond, the entrance is on Central, with my wife's art studio, Art by Weeze. Got to give her a plug.
Of
But
course.
I had one woman who told me that she bought a fairy door and she came back the next day and said, I put it on my table by my bed. I'm 42 years old and I've had insomnia my entire life.
Mhm.
I have never once had a peaceful night's sleep.
Mhm.
I put that portal by my bed on the table, and for the first time in my life, I slept 8 straight hours, didn't get
Wow.
up once, and the fairies were with me with my dreams the whole night. That's a
Oh,
true
wow.
story. I didn't make that up.
Wow. Does that have a website?
Sure. Enchantedportals.com.
Okay.
And you can read a fairy newspaper on there. You can read how I met the fairies and a story about the fairies, how they came to this part of the world, and all kinds of fun stuff. But yeah, the enchanted portals are great. You know, they're popular, and I do sell a lot of them. I also make fairy houses,
Yeah,
and
I saw some of your saw some of your work. That was amazing. Your wife does she did all the artwork.
yes,
She did the like the
artbyweaves.com. She has a studio and a classroom here, and she does paint parties, and they are crazy popular. I mean, she has a lot of them, and they come in, and she has the canvases all prepped and ready for them, and then she teaches them how to do. They'll pick a painting to do that the whole group will do,
Hmm.
and you know, she's really good at that, and she gets invited to different groups and churches and organizations, and does paint parties. She's got one tomorrow night, as a matter of fact, here in her classroom. Holds up to 20 people. And my wife is one of the, I tell her she's actually not from this planet. She, she is rare. Everybody loves her. I mean, she's just that person that everybody takes to instantly.
Hmm.
And she's amazing.
Yeah, I love the artwork and I love seeing those portals. Unfortunately, I can't seem to get the site up. Legatus, could you do your magic and maybe bring up the site? Enchantedportals.com.
Yeah, I just opened it just to
Okay.
see. I thought maybe it was down for some reason, but no. And what you do is when you have an enchanted portal, you
Mhm.
adopt a fairy. On
Okay.
the bottoms of all the fairy doors is the initial of the fairy you adopt.
Hmm.
But the initial is in the ancient Irish alphabet called Ogham, Ogham. And you can check it on the website. There's the letters, the alphabet, and the names, and find out who's your. It could be Queen Tiana, Ain, Brina, Cleona, Maeve. There's a bunch of them,
Hmm.
and that will be the fairy you adopt, and to come with every door and home, and you get an official adoption certificate with it and all. Prettygoodcreations.com. That's mine. Yes.
Okay. Let's see.
But
Uh,
that's not Enchanted Portals.
ah, looks. Yeah, for some reason I'm not getting it up. I have to. Okay.
ENCHANTEDPORTALS.
All
Dot
one
com.
word.
All one word. Yeah.
Oh,
Enchantedportals.com.
okay. Must be something with my connection. All right, but this is yours as well. Pretty good creations.
Yeah, that's the mothership of all my thing. I got 24 websites.
Okay.
And the thanks, Snorta Poopas.
All right.
Um,
Let's try that.
yeah, I guess it worked for Snorta Poopas.
Okay. Let's see.
Um, Pretty Good Creations is the mothership of all of my stuff. I also
Ah,
have
there it is.
19 books published.
What genre?
Oh God, all kinds. I've got um, noir style murder mystery, like takes place 1947.
Hmm.
I've got two teenage adventure mystery books called Youth Patrol, and they're
Hmm.
kind of like Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew.
Right.
Then I've got two Christmas books I did, and then I've got a bunch called Tales of Wonder. I think there's 8 in the series, and each book is a collection of short stories, fantasy, sci-fi. It's about witches, sorceresses, fairies, all kinds of magical stuff. And then I got D. Rogers, PI. It's about a woman from West Virginia who moved to New York City and became a private detective,
Oh
opened her
wow.
own agency.
Talk about a talk about a fish out of water on that one.
Not really. Not
Oh.
really, because Jake Taylor was my first book I ever published, and now it was about a private detective in New York City and
Hmm.
what a case that he was doing. Comic Relief Crusader. I make my own sites. I appreciate the offer, but I've been building my own websites since '95, and I make them the way I like them. And They are what they are. My first website, like I told you earlier, was like 400 pages, and it
Wow.
was on a 14.4 dial-up modem,
Mm.
and it took 8 hours to load the site.
Ah, wow. Back in the day, or still.
Yeah, I've been around long enough to see so many changes in the world, you
Mm.
know? I mean, and even just since the internet started.
Yeah.
Um, I've been using computers since 1972,
Yeah. Okay.
and I make my own computers.
Oh, wow.
And well, I've got four monitors, pretty high-end system because I used to do film editing
Yeah.
for people. People would send me videos and I'd edit it for them. And it's a lot of fun. I don't do much of that anymore
Mm.
because most people now, there's so much free stuff
Yeah.
online. They don't need an editor.
True.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise we'd have to wait a while to see what somebody ate for dinner.
Ugh. Ugh.
Just
Ugh.
spare me.
Hello, Agent Pepsi One, who says late 40s fashion. I could see myself in one of those outfits. I want to time warp myself to 1947.
Yeah, I love those. I love the women's styles from the 40s and 50s. Very feminine, very chic. Yeah, I love those styles on a woman, definitely. And of course, for me, it's also some nostalgia.
Yeah.
But he said, Agent Pepsi says, hardly a man is alive that remembers 75. I was born in 52. I remember 75 pretty well. That was my first wife.
Ah,
And that wasn't the best experience, which is
ah,
why they call them exes.
that's true. That is true.
Yep. After 10 years with two kids, I opened the front door and I said, back to HELL demon. And out she went.
Ah, okay. Um,
I'm not sure about the elf on the shelf thing. Can you use a fairy door, adopt a fairy like those elf? I'm not that familiar with elf on the shelf.
even older than the bear. All right. Um, I think it's time to open up to you guys. Um, let you guys start asking questions or make comments and stuff. Okay, we did this question, and in the meantime, I may come up with some other stuff. Uh,
I see Agent Pepsi here.
yeah.
You rock those garter belts, especially if you got the seam stockings. I
Oh,
love those things.
seam stockings.
Oh yeah, very very attractive.
Hmm. All right.
William Shatner, he's a
Yeah.
cute. Do you know why William Shatner pauses a lot during his roles he plays? It's because he has a hard time remembering his lines. And I never met him, but I have met a lot of cool people. I met um, Jimi Hendrix.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I met, oh God, I'm just names are voiding me right now. Jim Morrison of the Doors. I
Wow.
actually had to throw him out of a party one night.
Oh,
He got drunk and started punching the walls and breaking things.
that yeah. From what I heard, that
Yeah,
was him.
that was him. And I had to throw him out. And
Oh wow.
then there was, I tell you, most musicians drove me nuts. I mean, literally. Um, y- I had three girls performing on stage one night for a
Mhm.
concert I produced. They spent 2 hours each tuning in their microphones. Then they come on stage and went to the other set of microphones. They sounded perfect. And then they cursed me out for 20 minutes.
Mm.
I said, I didn't tell you to go to the wrong mics. That's the way musicians were. They drive you nuts. Jimi Hendrix was a nice guy, but he would zone out on you. We're hanging out in a club in Greenwich Village one night, and we're talking, and all of a sudden, he just picks up his guitar and starts playing, and the rest of the world doesn't exist for him.
Mm-hmm.
The nicest guy I ever met, musician, was Billy Joel.
You met Billy Joel? Wow.
Yeah, well, I met him once. Nice guy. We talked for a good while. He's just a really nice guy. Cool for you.
I've met I've met Arlo Guthrie after a concert.
He was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked his music.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up being born in 52. I grew up with rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 50s, rock and roll was the devil's music, and it was actually banned from entire cities and towns all over the country.
Oh, yeah.
Banned rock and roll. Refused to let any rock and roll musicians or singers play in their towns and cities. It was crazy, you know.
Yeah. Yep, it was still the dark ages for music.
Well, yeah, Bill Haley and the Comets, you know, they were the greatest. And then from that, we evolved into the 60s. I grew up in the 60s, 70s, was hard rock, the ultimate classic, Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
It was the most creative era for music ever.
Yeah. I was very much into the progressive rock movement in the 70s. I was Jethro Tull, Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yeah, they made
some Pink Floyd.
I was always the one to go to places that were different and people that were different. You know, the ones who most people seem to avoid them. You know, like I'd go into the beatnik joints in Greenwich Village and places like that, and if there was a door that looked like you shouldn't go through it, I went through it.
You were there. You were there, yeah.
Yeah, but I've always had this feeling that life is an adventure, and if it's not, you're doing it wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You might as well go for it because look, you get one life. There's no do-overs. So what are you going to do? Lay in your deathbed and think back and say, "I wish I had done that." Oops, too late.
Yep, too late. Agent Pepsi One says seam stockings are almost impossible to find. Even the regular garter top thigh highs are hard to come by. Dillard's used to carry them. Victoria's Secrets have them sometimes.
That's too bad because they definitely was something. But I had a story about that. Excuse me. I had an aunt who was, let's just say, she didn't live on this side of reality all the time. And she didn't like wearing the stockings, but she liked the way they looked. So back in World War II, they had these way of drawing a line down the back of your leg with a marker to make it look like you were wearing stockings because they couldn't find them.
Yeah.
You know, they couldn't get them back in World War II. You know, offering a girl seam stockings, nylon stockings, was like offering gold.
Yeah.
And but she used to draw the lines all crooked. Yeah, there's a lot of styles from the 40s and 50s that they just look really good. I still love them myself. So cheers to you, Agent Pepsi, and rock on with those theme stockings if you can get them.
And she met Meatloaf and Richie Blackmore while waitressing at the Hard Rock in Biloxi.
Biloxi, Mississippi. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I would have liked to make Meatloaf was kind of crazy, wasn't he? I never knew him.
I,
Never knew him, but
yeah.
he always struck me as somebody who was crazy. And Dillard's. Well, Dillard's was also the band that was on the Andy and Mayberry show all the time. They played the
Oh, okay.
Darlings. I love their music.
All
Yeah,
the silk.
well, I avoid New York City and in Chicago and LA. And I lived in New York City 30 years, and I won't even go back to visit there the way it is today.
Mhm.
No.
Snort says all the silk was diverted into making parachutes and silly things like that.
Well, that's true. Literally, it
Yeah.
was the parachutes, especially.
Hmm.
We had a saying in the army: the only thing falls out of the sky is bird poop and fools. I was in the army, 71 to 73.
Ah,
And they came in when we were in basic, and they said, "All right, who wants to be a paratrooper?" And pretty much everybody told them that. No,
yeah.
I ain't jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, they just put you into helicopters over the jungles.
Well, I was in intelligence operations. I didn't get in the fight,
Oh.
but I trained officers to go behind enemy lines and call in fire missions. And my unit, we did things that I still can't talk about. But
Ah.
you had to be crazy to be in my unit. I mean, we were very carefully selected, and they worried about us a lot. They had
Mm.
everybody in my unit see a shrink once a month to determine if we were a danger to our own army. And they used to have these parade reviews. Like there was always some idiot congressman or senator or somebody who wanted to come and see the whole post. And they put on a parade review where all the soldiers would march by, salute the dignitary, and stuff like that. My unit was banned from attending.
Mm.
We
Mm.
were specifically told not to show up.
Mm.
Agent Pepsi, Army veteran too. Great.
Yep.
What did you do? What was your MOS?
Yeah. Go ahead and. Did you end up in Vietnam at all?
No, I didn't have to go over there. I was very lucky.
Okay.
A lot
Probably
of the
also
guys
because
from
probably also um probably also with your MOS and your unit.
yes.
You probably
Well,
they
I
didn't
can tell
watch
you
you.
one thing we almost did. We almost did. Here's something I want to tell people is that what you see on the news has little to do with reality. Now, my unit did do things, and I know about. I had a top secret security clearance, and I knew a lot what was going on in Nam. So, yeah, Pepsi shouldn't talk about. But um, at one point, well, we learned throughout the thing that what you see on TV or radio or even internet now, most of it isn't even close to true. And everybody yells, "We have a right to know." No, you don't.
True that.
Because if you knew what we did at the time we were doing it, that would be called aid and comfort to the enemy.
Exactly.
And the classic example now, a lot of people hated Nixon. At the time, everybody hated soldiers. It's
Yeah.
like I'd ask a girl out. I don't date soldiers. And I was in a bus station right after basic training. I was in a bus station and I was getting ready to take a bus home. And a whole bunch of hippies were in there. They started throwing things at me, spitting at me, cursing me, calling me baby killer.
Oh yeah.
I said, man, I've been in the Army 8 weeks, man. The only person I almost killed was my drill sergeant.
Yeah.
But we were hated. The soldiers were hated back then.
Yeah.
But we did this one time. It was, I think, late 72, early 73. We were going to invade Cuba. The Soviets, if a lot of people know about the Kennedy Missile Crisis in the early
Mhm.
60s, where the Soviets were moving nuclear missiles into Cuba, and Kennedy backed them down. Well, it
Mhm.
happened again, and my unit was on the tarmac getting ready to invade Cuba.
Mm.
And we were right there. It was that close. We were ready to board the plane,
Ooh.
and they called it off. And Nixon told them the same thing Kennedy did. You mess around here, we're going to kill you. That's it. Done. And it lasted 2 weeks. The arguments between Nixon and the Soviets lasted 2 weeks. And then when it was over, we were ready to go to town and party. But we were told we had to stay on base for 2 more weeks. Nixon played it out on the media, on TV and radio and newspapers. He played it out as if it had just started after it was over.
Mm.
And he knew the country would be telling him to leave it alone. Don't do anything. I mean, how stupid can you be? You want a nuke parked 90 miles off of Florida coast? No is the right answer.
Mm.
But Nixon played it out, and then we were able to go to town. But that's when I really learned what you see in the media, that ain't what's happening.
Mm. That's true. I was in the Air Force for 12 years, and yeah,
Wow, that's impressive.
thanks.
What years were you in?
78 to 78 to 90, and then I went to the Air National Guard from 90 to 98, where I retired.
What is your job there?
Oh, I had three jobs. I had communications, and then I went into intelligence, so I can totally relate. And then I wrapped it up in maintenance training.
Hmm. Intelligence operations was my official thing, and I used to worry about the intelligence part quite a bit.
I know what you mean. I was in targets. I was
Targets?
target intelligence.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's some cool stuff.
Yep. Let's see. Let's catch up with the chat here.
Yeah, I think if I missed anybody, I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. That's what okay. Okay. Army vet, yeah. Why would anybody jump out of a perfectly good airplane? That's why they made C-119s. Let's see. Sounds like there's a movie behind that. Probably.
Well, my life is a movie. All the good parts, I don't tell anyone because, to be honest, they wouldn't believe them. They don't. They won't. They
Yeah.
wouldn't.
So when my father was FKHC says when my father was going to the Air Force Academy, there was a hair inspection. They were all lined up, and over the loudspeakers, there comes a radio stations. Now here's a song for the boys at the U.S. Air Force Academy, and then the song
Hair.
by the Cowsills played.
One of the guys in my unit one morning, they always played the Star Spangled Banner for the whole post. And the guys in my unit, like I said, they weren't crazy. You literally had to be crazy to do what you did. One of them went down on main post, and he got into the room that played the record for the Star Spangled Banner,
Uh-huh.
locked himself in, and put it on Hendrix' version.
Oh, that
Jimi
would.
Hendrix Star Spangled Banner played all
Oh man, why did he lock himself in? That would have been
because they were
epic.
trying to get him to stop. He locked himself in with the record, so they couldn't stop him.
Oh, so it just went going and going and going.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should alternate. Play, they should do the regular one and then do Hendrix.
These guys were nuts. You go into the barracks, and I don't know if I better not say this part. Moving on.
Okay. Let's see. Agent Pepsi won. Shame. Let's see.
PFC, Private
Yeah.
First Class.
Yeah.
I was a PFC once.
Let's see.
We did some interesting things. There's one I will tell you about. It was kind of crazy. I was stationed in Fort Benning, Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
and we went with an artillery unit to put on a show at Moody Air Force Base in Valdosta, Georgia.
Uh-huh.
And I was driving the FDC van. It was top secret van. And that's where I learned how to use computers.
Mm-hmm.
It carried a computer to compute fire missions for missiles and artillery.
Mm-hmm.
And on the way down, me and the guy in the van in the truck with me, it was a deuce and a half, sealed, and we picked up two hitchhikers.
Oh.
They were a young couple running away from her father, who was the sheriff, so they could get married.
Oh.
And we got them out of the county, and then we stopped at a burger joint, and we were towing a 155 howitzer. So here we are in a top secret security van with a howitzer, taking up most of their parking lot and sitting out with the howitzer eating hamburgers. When the guy in charge of the whole thing drives along and sees us, he stops the convoy, and he was a little upset.
Oh, I can imagine.
So on the way back, me and Sergeant Buck, that was the guy who was with me, we got a little tipsy.
No.
Yeah. So we ended up at a girls' college in North Carolina for the weekend.
Mm.
And that was fun. When we got back on post, we figured we were going to be in a lot of trouble. But the battalion commander, I was in the battalion headquarters battery. And the battalion commander was so scared of anybody finding out what we did that he said, if you don't tell anybody, I won't. But again, they all knew we were crazy. If you're going to trust me with a damn howitzer in a top secret van, that's your stupidity.
Yeah. Agent Pepsi One says, then I find out Captain Fry was married, but he never wore a wedding ring. Yeah, I almost always wore a skirt with my Class A's, especially when Captain Fry was around.
Wow. Agent Pepsi, what years were you in? If you said, I'm sorry, I missed it. What years were you in? Breakfast acquisition.
Yeah. Let's see. And then, of course, Bad for Your Career, the Hendrix version. Yep.
Well, again, my unit got away with a lot of stuff because we did things that no one else would do. Literally. We did things that other people would rather go to the stockade than do.
Mm.
So they gave us a lot of slack. 2003 to 6. Ugh. I feel sorry for the soldiers in those years and recent years.
Yeah.
They're not supported the way they should be. And what always got me was these people that, it became popular to say, was the 90s, early 2000s, I support the soldiers. But then they go on to say basically they hate everything the soldiers do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to give the soldiers some kind of comfort, you just failed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
does
All right.
anybody want to ask about the fairies?
Yeah, come on, ask about the fairies. Ask about. I'd
Ask
like.
about my books. Ask about my
Mm-hmm.
TV, radio, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, Agent Pepsi. God
Yeah.
bless you.
Yes, indeed. So
Well,
yeah, done.
in
Yeah.
Canada, I've been to Canada. Um, I've been to every continental state and Canada and Mexico. I used to live on my Harley for 2 years, and UFOs. Oh yeah. Do you know, honestly, if I reason it out for UFOs, I'd have to say that it is likely that there is life on other planets. To think of the size of the universe
Mm-hmm.
and the countless planets in the universe, and to try to think that of all those millions of planets, there's life on only one. Now, does that sound logical?
No, but no, I think there's other life. I just think that the reason we don't see them is basic physics. We would take them forever to get here.
Well, that's just it. You're making, a classic explanation of it that most people come up with, but you're basing it on technology
That
that
we,
we have,
yeah,
and it ignores what they may have.
that's true.
There are things in this world, and this is what gets me too. Things that happen every day right in front of people, and they don't see them. I see them, and I look around, and no one else did. And I'm like, there are things in this world. I have friends who are psychics. I'm an empath. And this is one of the reasons I don't tell those stories is because most people don't believe them. But
Mm-hmm.
I've personally seen and done things. I don't know if you want to get into that kind of conversation,
We
though.
could probably go. We could probably go maybe another time because I would love to have you back.
Well, you say you want to do this another time?
Well, talking about if you want to talk about talk about
No, it's on you. It's your show. I mean,
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, just to start off with, I have feelings that I need to go somewhere.
Uh-huh.
I don't hear voices or anything like that. I just get a feeling I need to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, I have found 4 dead bodies.
Mm.
One of them buried, half buried. I'm driving my car. I get a feeling I need to pull over and stop. I
Hmm.
stop, I get out, I walk up into the woods, and I found a woman half buried.
Oh my.
It's not always fun, but there's upsides. Like, I have saved a few lives over the years because I got there in time.
Uh-huh.
And one time I'm out driving around with a buddy of mine, and he says, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "This is in Winchester." I said, "Let's go to the park. I got to go to the park." He goes, "Why?" I says, "Don't ask me. I just got to go to the park."
Mm-hmm.
So we go to the park, and here's this big art exhibit. And I'm walking around. I keep getting drawn in this one direction. I go up to this booth, and there's a woman standing there. And she looks up at me and has the most surprised look on her face. She says, "Come back here and sit with me."
Hmm.
So I do. I go around the table. I sit on a chair beside her, and she says, "I have irregular heartbeat. This is my first time to exhibit all of my art. and my heart's been acting up for weeks. It has given me no peace. It hasn't stopped,
Mm.
but I was determined to come anyway. She said, the minute you stepped up to my booth, my heart started beating perfectly fine, and it's great now.
Hmm.
Who are you? I
Oh,
just
wow.
smiled. I said, I'm glad things are doing better for you.
Hmm.
But I have people stop me on the street, in the stores. They just stop me. They tell me some secret about themselves, no introduction,
Wow.
and then they walk away. My wife was with me. She goes, "Oh, one of your people." And she goes, stands off to the side and just waits. And
Mm,
all I usually do is just smile and nod my head, you know.
mhm.
But I've had
Wow.
that happen probably hundreds of times.
Hmm.
And a lot of other things, being an empath, most empaths are recluses because an empath experiences the thoughts and emotions of the people around them,
Right.
and it can really be overwhelming.
Mhm.
Now, I'm an extrovert. I also put out vibes that make people feel better.
And that's a good thing they have,
Yeah,
especially in
that
these days.
and the few people who I've managed to save their lives, that makes it worthwhile. But mostly, I hate it. And I'm in the yard one day. A woman stops her car, tells me her life story, and drives off. They never introduce themselves. They never tell
Huh.
me their names. There's no upfront. They just launch right into their story and then go.
Huh. Wow.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
I've heard stuff, man, I don't wish I never heard.
um, Agent Pepsi says my husband sees things flying but won't talk about it. He does talk in his sleep sometimes, but I can't make sense out of it.
Well, this all goes with what I'm saying. It's so much happens in this world, and people are blind to it.
Mhm.
You need some nice fairies. Well, now I can tell you, I happen to know them. They're good Irish fairies.
Ah.
And whenever I talk about the fairies put a spell on me. When I talk about them, the Irish accent comes out. And where I grew up, more people spoke with an Irish brogue than without one. So it was common. But I would like to say to everybody listening and King,
Yeah.
Sláinte. Now, that's an Irish saying. It means good health.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, the
Uh,
Irish are the most contrary people in the world.
mhm.
Even their alphabet, Sláinte is spelled Slainte. That's Sláinte. And Va is spelled Maith. Now,
Hmm.
how do you get Sláinte out of that?
I don't. I
And
don't know.
the old thing, if you ask an Irishman, do you believe in little people? He'll tell you, no, but they're there.
My best friend was my best childhood friend was a big hulking Irishman who loved to fight.
Oh, well, that's my neighborhood. I got in my first fist fight when I was about 5 or 6. And it was a kid who hit my younger brother over the head with a plastic rifle. I beat that boy so bad that he went to the hospital. But we grew up. If you didn't have a fist fight one day, at the end of the day, you think, what's missing? And I see Agent Pepsi sees too much. The idiots hide their phones in class. I tell you, the one group of people, well, one of the groups of people that I have tremendous admiration for is teachers.
And she is one.
God, they do not get the credit they deserve. They're just amazing. I taught 7th grade one year in New York City. That's another something I'll never do again. But the teachers, you know, do Irish fairies and leprechauns get along and really party for weeks at a time? Well, no, a party starts when you're born and continues after you're dead. What do you think?
I like Tim FKHC's thing. It's good that you find the bodies. It does give some closure.
Yes, yeah. It's they've been different. I mean, one time I had a feeling I needed to go to this. They had these apartment complexes, 2-story things, and yeah, I went there, and woman walks up to me on the sidewalk and hands me a set of keys and said, "Apartment 2B."
Huh.
Okay, so I took the keys. I knew I had to be there for a reason. Went up, went in, found the guy dead in his bed. Find out she hadn't heard from him, and she was scared that something would happen, and she didn't want to be the one to find him. So I did.
Yeah,
Irish
we had that.
and leprechauns, they get along mostly, but they can be, well, they're Irish. Of course they're going to fight.
I had a person who lived across the street. He died. No one knew because he was so reclusive.
Oh my.
And someone did a wellness call maybe about 6 months later and found him dead in his house.
Oh.
Yeah.
I hate finding dead people. I really hate that. Could you excuse me for a moment? I need to go to the little broadcaster's room.
Oh, certainly. Please.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Snortapoopus said, I hope you're enjoying this. Guys, let's see. Snortapoopus is saying, my theory is drinking helps with the proper pronunciation of Gaelic. Thanks, Tim. I don't have Sandra's in meetings. I don't have her keeping an eye on things here. Let's see. Agent, I had this student last semester who wore these elf ears. Just make me want to shake my head. I wouldn't want anything on my ears. It would bother the crap out of me. Not even Vulcan ears. Or the pay. 3 to 5 years to retirement. As soon as Steven retires from FedEx, Mrs. Tasha becomes a housewife. Yay. Snorty, it's not Gaelic, but sluric. Well, hey, they can make themselves well understood. Even with all that alcohol. I'm going to share some of his stuff while he's gone. There's the the fairy newspaper. Okay. Let's see what else. Here's where you can adopt. Oh, there you go, Snort. You can go adopt a fairy.
Yep, you can adopt a fairy.
Yeah,
I'm back.
All right.
Does anybody have any questions for me?
Yeah, actually, Legatus does. Well, Snort has guessing elf play is not an AP1's future. But Legatus says, so you help find a lot of dead bodies. Have you ever helped in one of the search and rescue and reunited a loved or lost one? That's a good question.
Yeah, it is, but no, it's an odd thing. I don't have um, like command of it. I can't just sit down and say, okay, I'm going to focus on this and figure it out. It comes to me out of the blue, just out of nowhere. I mean, these things just do. But like, okay, one time my wife was going to the store and something said, go with her. Not words, I don't hear voices, except my wife's
Hmm.
sometimes. But I get in the car, I go with her. We get up to the wisest supermarket up here. It's a few years ago.
Hmm.
And she goes in, and I get out of the car, and I stand there, and I'm looking around. Here comes a car bouncing off of the other parked cars,
Mm.
just going along, bouncing off of the cars. And I look in the window, and there's nobody in the driver's seat, and there's a guy sitting in the passengers.
Huh.
I run up, get in the car, stop it. Turns out it was an old couple. The guys, he didn't want his wife to have to walk all the way to where they parked initially. And he was paraplegic, couldn't walk, couldn't use his legs.
Mm.
So he thought he'd start the car and steer it up to the door for her and lost control.
Ooh.
But I was there to stop it before it did a whole lot of damage or got anybody hurt.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. So there's good things, but I can't go to a zoo. I went to a zoo once. We walked in, the saturation of misery from the animals
Mm.
was so intense. I have never felt such horror in my life.
Oh
We were
my.
there 2 minutes and I had to go.
You actually felt that.
hmm I have never experienced so much misery
Oh wow.
and pain and agony. It was horrible.
Mm.
And I was there, like I said, 2 minutes I had to go. But I often wonder, when people are diagnosed with something from the alphabet soup,
Hmm.
OCD and all the other ones, I wonder how many of those people are empaths and don't know it.
I don't know.
I
Um,
imagine there's some.
I imagine there's a lot.
Yeah. And I know other empaths. Most of them, they won't leave the house if they can help it.
Mm. But at least like you probably you probably temper it because the fact you are an extrovert.
Yeah. I've always been outgoing,
Hmm.
you know, and like I said way earlier on your show, I always thought life is an adventure. And if
Hmm.
it's not, I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah.
So, get out there, man. Just experience life. There's so many cool things in this world. If you listen to the media, the world is doomed and miserable. And that's a lot of
Hmm.
the world is a blast. Get out in it, enjoy it.
Hmm.
But today, the way people are today with texting, it just stuns me. I was in Shepherdstown walking up the sidewalk last summer. You got the tables, chairs outside that little cafe,
Hmm.
and there's a guy and a girl sitting across from each other at the table, and they're both texting.
Hmm.
And I stopped, not being the shy type, and I asked the guy. They look like they were college kids. I asked the guy. I said, "Is that your girlfriend over there?" He looks at me, goes, "Yes." I says, "Well, tell me something. If I was dating a girl as pretty as she is, I'd be over there kissing her, not playing with that stupid phone." I don't get it. I don't. The
Yeah.
world has moved inward,
Hmm.
communicating on the cell phones, but very few physical contact.
Yeah.
It it makes no sense to me. Well, especially to me, with all I've seen and done. I've been out there doing it.
Hmm.
So it's hard for me to comprehend somebody who doesn't.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions out there?
Yeah, I'm not shy, obviously. Ask me anything. I might even answer you.
uh, I'm sharing pictures of the fairy doors of the
Oh,
enchanted
yeah.
portals.
Thank you. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for inviting me on the show.
Oh, I'm glad to have you. Thank you for coming.
Well, I'm
I will
having
have.
fun.
I will definitely have you on again. Maybe we could talk more about the mysteries. Because this sounds we could go for an entire show on just the mysteries of everything.
Well, why don't we talk about your books? You blathered on enough about mine. Do
Uh,
you get a headache or anything if you
yeah.
enjoy one of your premonitions or weightlifting? Not a headache, but I've rarely ignored them, very rarely. Once, no, that one I'm not even going to talk about. It was terrible, but um, I try not to ignore them. When you realize that you might be going to save someone's life, you don't ignore it.
Mm,
Most of the time, it's not saving a life. A lot of the times, it's just, I need to go somewhere so somebody can tell me something or they need help,
mhm.
like eh, with anything, I mean, I've shown up and helped people carry things. I had one woman, uh, I had a feeling I wanted to go to her house. I needed. So that's the difference, not want. The feeling is I need to do this.
Mhm.
I got there and it was the day she was going to have her baby baptized, and the
Aw.
father wasn't around. So
Mm.
she asked me to step in and be, the father role for the baptism,
Oh, that's nice.
which, yeah, I did. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
When I go
Alright.
into chat rooms online, even, I'll be in a chat room and I'll get a private message pop up, and it's one of my people.
Hmm.
And they tell me things about themselves. I quit wondering about it decades ago,
Mhm.
but I still wonder about the things they tell me.
Hmm.
These are things they likely don't want to share, not with people they know.
Wow. That that's fast. That's very fascinating.
Oh, some of the stories these people have told me. Oh
Mm.
my goodness. I
Wow.
just I look, I say, if I listen to any more of this, I'm gonna go blind. This is like, oh, okay, there's an image I could have gone my whole life without.
Hmm.
What
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
are your
Dan,
books about, King?
oh, my books are it's a science fiction series. It's an interconnected trilogy. So they're all so it's one story, one book, and then two sequels. It's called the Dolphin Wars, obviously. And it starts. The first book, All's Fair, starts out with a a family of military family involved in a war between Earth and Mars.
Hmm. That's
And
classic.
yeah, but the what's different is the character development and the plot twists that I do.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's betrayal, revenge, all as a backdrop to this war. And there is a alien contact.
That's
involved.
right, Snortopupus. Thank you.
Thanks, Snort. Yeah, and so there is alien contact.
Interesting.
The second one is this family expanding and dealing with the end of the war, but a different war with an alien species begins that threatens Earth, and the family has to try and stop it. And then the third one is where the family has to deal with tragedy, and there's more of the revenge and potential genocide, and it does tie things together.
Cool. And very cool, Legatus.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on a story now, and I'm not sure if I'll have it ready for the let's see, March. I've already prepared the March show. It'll be released March 1st. The February show, Talk of the Town and Radio Magazine, is it's online now, and the main show on that is The Nurse, and it's a story about a soldier who wakes up in a hospital with no use of his legs. But then all my books and stories are known for a twist. Everything I write has a twist in the ending.
Oh yeah, gotta have twists.
They always are. They end on a high note.
Good.
Everything I write. I'm working on, and I like doing comedy. And what brought it to mind was that you were talking about the UFOs. I'm working on a story now called "They're Here," and it's about two beautiful alien women in a spaceship land in the backyard of two rednecks. Oh, I'm having fun with that one.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yep.
And there's your link to Talk of the Town.
MaceRadio.com. Yeah, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
It's a fun thing.
Yeah. Well, when you get it back up, let me know and I'll come on.
Oh, yeah. When I do live shows, I've been looking around for a new server, but I haven't found one that I really want to work with.
Yeah.
I work with that one from 2005 until 2024, early 2024. And it was perfect. To find one that could match them people is hard.
Yeah.
So.
And let's see. Alien woman, like as in Orion woman.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap it up, I know people are probably wondering what a marmallow is. Here it is. Drool. Here you go for you guys to drool over.
What is it? Oh, Malamars.
Malamar, yes.
Oh, God, I love those things. Before we came live, King mentioned someone would ask me about a cookie, and that Malamar just jumped into my head instantly.
Yeah. All right. So we will start wrapping up with show notes. It's
time for show notes. It's time for show notes. Yeah, with Mr. Reagan and Sandra too.
Is that the end of the show? Are we done? Reckon so. Well, if you can hear me, good night and God bless. And thanks for having me on the show, King. I appreciate it. And it was nice meeting all you folks in the chat box.
Okay, I'm back. Can everybody hear me? Hello? Can anybody? Okay, how about now? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Okay, Dan, are you still there? Yeah. Let me...
Hang on.
Okay.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay.
I don't know what
ended.
happened. I don't know what happened. I put on show notes and it died on me. So sorry about that, guys.
Well, you know the old saying, feces occurs.
Yeah. Or in our case here, Semper
Well,
Gumby.
are we going to continue for a bit? Or
Well, I was doing show notes. Let me see if that'll work again. And then we will wrap it up. Let's see. Okay, here we go.
It's time for show. It's time for show notes. It's time for show notes. Yeah, with Mr. Raven and Sandra too. It's time for show notes. We're bringing it on. It's time for show notes. You've all been warned. It's time for show notes.
Okay, looks like show notes caused it to blow up. So a week from today, we'll do Surfside Chat where we will have someone coming on. I don't know who yet. We'll figure it out. This Saturday will be the Just Cuz on its usual night. And the chaos of the pod. The 8th, we're going to have our second theme, just because it's going to be Looney Tunes, where you can tell us about your favorite cartoons, your favorite characters, and we see what happens then. And then we'll figure out what happens for the rest of February. Please get me some interviews out there. I'd love to talk to people. It was amazing talking to Dan tonight, and we're going to have you back, Dan. That's a given.
I appreciate it. I enjoyed it very much.
Yep. All right, so I'm not going to risk going to show notes again, but we're going to do the proper. Snorter Pooper says, take care of every human, dolphin, dog, Dalek, ferret, eagle, hedgehog, and hairy frogfish. TM, a wholly owned subsidiary of King Dolphin TV, as they say in ancient Elvish. And I'm gonna tear this up. So, can you say it? Can you say it, Dan?
Can I say it?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I'll try. Aina Neldi Eru El Oravo Malo Maria. Okay.
Well, I got the Malamar part.
Yeah, the Malamar. Hey, that's the important part. That's the important part.
When I was a kid growing up, my mother, like I said, was Irish. My father was Greek. And when we had family gatherings, one side of the room they were speaking Gaelic, and the other side they spoke Greek, and then there was a no man's land in the middle.
That was the kiddie table.
It was interesting.
Show notes where Raymond tells us what mischief if he'll be getting into. Yep. All right, and Snorter Poopus enjoyed the show.
Well, thank you.
Yes. Oh, it was a great show. So we're going to start to wrap it up and say goodnight to all. I'd like to thank all who attended. We had let's see, guests. We had Phantom. We had Swift -1. Thank you for being here, my friend. And then out of my lifeguards.
Okay, Snort.
Snort's going to look into adopting a fairy. Nice.
I'm sure they'll be happy to meet you.
All right. Just don't chomp on them. I don't think fairies like to be eaten by bears. And then there's the website. There's the link for Pop Culture Breakdown, where they discuss anything happening on pop culture tonight. Okay, my amazing. He says he needs all the help he can. Nice.
Don't we all?
Yeah. We had the lovely and charming Agent Pepsi 1 on tonight. We had FKHC 2005. The wise and intelligent Legatus Legion I. Thanks for your bringing up the links and your amazing questions. And of course, the hardest working bear on the internet, Snorter Poopas Cuber. Thank you for being here. And I'm sure they will help. They'll hook you up for adopting a fairy. Yeah. And the Comic Relief Crusader. Thank you, one, and thank you all for being here. Again, Dan, thanks for being here. I love the conversation. You have lived an amazing life, and you. It sounds like it's even now, 72 years, life is still a wondrous adventure for you.
Well, I always figure that when I go, I'm going to slide into my grave doing 150 miles in the hour yelling, it's been a heck of a ride.
Awesome. So please check out his sites. Check out Enchanted Portals. Check
Email
out
me too. Any questions if you want, whatever.
Say again?
There's a link to my emails on my website.
Okay, yeah. Great. So he's got I don't have the links now, but I'm sure Legatus can put them out. Go to Enchanted Portals, go to his website, Mace Radio, and check Dan Mace out. And
yeah, check me out.
Oh boy. Dan, thank you very much. Stick around afterwards. And it was a great show, except for Gumby slapping me at the end of the show. I don't know what happened. And guys, I love you all. You guys take care. I will see you Saturday. Be safe, stay warm, and let's keep making some waves. Love you guys.